Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Mike's Diabetes World. Well, it's afternoon when I'm recording this. Current blood sugar, we're at 7.7, fully calibrated from lunch. Amount of insulin still in my system is 4.375 units of active insulin. I have my basal rate cut back quite a bit. I've had insulin with lunch. Last correction was about 10:45, and I haven't had a correction since, so that's a big plus. So let's go and see what we're at. Everything is checking out here. I have full battery life. I have 180.4 units left. I have 3 days of insulin left in my system, or not insulin, life left on my transmitter, and 68% power on the transmitter. Oops. Time and range is still at 92%, 8% above 92. Blood sugar is still at 7.5. And if you take a look at today, except for going up just after breakfast down here, it's been a fairly constant morning. I didn't go up, so we have a big win. Today on my vlog, I'd like to talk to you about, did my T1D diagnosis affect me? Stay tuned, we'll be right back. This channel is provided for informational purposes only. Contact your physician for any diagnostic or treatment plan. October 7th, 1977 was the day that changed my whole destiny. Oh, God. And looking back on it, I really was not ready for this diagnosis. I was so immature about it. I just really was told I had to do stuff, so I did it. And then once I was free of that, I didn't really take care of myself. I did enough to keep me out of the hospital. That was pretty much it. At that time, I wasn't taught how to control my own blood sugars. It would be a few years before I was taught that, but back then, let's set the picture. There was no blood testing, except for going to a lab. There was a time where I had to go and get a fasting blood sugar, eat, walk around for 2 hours, and then get a blood sugar taken, and then be taken back to school for one period. And the school I went to was outside of Duncan. And then I had to race back in to get an afternoon blood sugar to see how my body was doing with the diabetes. That pretty well took the whole day away. And then I had to make up for the classes, and it was a hard life. When glucometers came in and we finally learned about glucometers, that changed my life. there was no more urine testing. Those getting diagnosed today are probably going to have to work with doing blood tests 4 times a day. And there are people where I do it because my parents say I have to do it. But there's no true meaning about what benefits does the diabetic actually get? It's all, oh well, you have to do it. And I've heard cases of where you have to do it because I say you have to do it. And that's no reason. You're kind of setting it up for, how do we say it? Rebellion? That, oh well, I can get away. When I started working, I put my work first. And there were days I'd work 24 hours a day. And I would just eat what was available, which was usually pop, chips, maybe a burger or a pizza. Sometimes would order in food. My whole life was a complete mess. No wonder why I got sick, but I didn't have a reason to try to aim for the goal. Even back then, why was I doing this urine testing? It's to see how you're doing. And it all was how you're doing. It's all kind of like, well, we're going to catch you at doing something. Most diabetics or type 1 diabetics are used to a test, and it's actually starting to wane out now, but hemoglobin A1C. That test pretty well tells how long over the last 3 months your body's blood sugars have been. It was touted in the early years, even by my doctor, as a report card. And if that didn't shut people down from trying to get them to go get their blood work drawn, it was ridiculous. But they just had to, and people just didn't until they went into emergency and they did a hemoglobin A1C. In order to get my pump, we're still looking at hemoglobin A1Cs, which doesn't really give a strong picture. Sorry, let me get back here. It's cleared off my phone, so. Where time and range now is a much better tool. Hemoglobin A1C is just an average over the last 3 months. This tells you how long throughout your days that you were in range. And that's all what we really want. You've got to be careful on how messages are construed. I was told, well, don't worry about hemoglobin A1C. And my mind kind of went, oh yeah, I won't have to go get blood tests. Well, I still have to go get blood tests, but now I want to go get blood tests. I want to know what's going on with my system and my hemoglobin A1C. I go once every 3 months. Well, I don't go anymore. It's actually done here. But I used to go to New West and to Royal Columbian, get my blood work, go back home, and that was it. There's so many places. But again, people aren't going to do it unless you give them a reason why. And it was all, well, we want to see how you're doing. Like, for a young diabetic, they seem to be putting an awful lot of pressure on that diabetic. And it's been that way. It was my way at school. It was my way at home. It was my way in medical. And you did one thing wrong. And, oh, well, you've been cheating. And everyone will have a reason for you to why you got diabetes. And if you'd only done that, my grandmother cured diabetes. This is all stuff I've mentioned before on this channel. But now for new diabetics, you need to hear. You need to come up with a reason. And some of these reasons could be very simple. First of all, you're doing it to feel better. Second of all is to get energy and have energy to do everyday things instead of being a high blood sugar. Oh. Parents need to stop coming down harsh on their kids. If something isn't working right, maybe find out why it's not working right. Don't just assume it's to that person. Since years after high school, I may have not had tight control, but there really wasn't that much tools. You went and you saw your doctor every 3 months. But you did not have any way of doing daily control except urine tests, and those were not accurate at all. I can tell you, when I first got out of the hospital, urine tests were the first thing that I got rid of. I couldn't do them because you only have a certain amount of lunchtime. You had to empty your bladder, you had to wait up to 20 minutes, and then you could urinate again. You could go do something, like you could go then and eat and take your insulin, and then it was time to get back to class. It was just, at home it was fine. Get up, do it in the morning, night, or before dinner. That was fine, but you were going like 30 times a day. It wasn't 30 times a day, but now, as new diabetics, you have to go maybe see your doctor every 3 months. You have a way of doing blood sugars, which most blood sugar readers, glucometers, test lasts about 5 seconds, and then you're able to go. You can enjoy lunch with your friends. You don't have to, again, be isolated. Diabetes is so much more inclusive. Let's get you inclusive. You can have what you want to eat, but again, keep to a sensible diet. Yes, it's nice to have cake and pudding all the time, but as you soon learn as growing up, you can't have the cake and pudding all the time. But if there's the one time you really want the cake or pudding, you could have it. Years ago, we went out to my birthday dinner, and I'm never quite sure if my father said this as a joke but when it came time for the cake, he said, "Oh, you can't have the cake, you're diabetic." It was like, yeah, I've heard that all before. Funny. I honestly don't think I had the maturity to be left with my diabetes. Yes, I may have been at the age where I should have been, but I don't think I was. Nowadays, taking over control of your diabetes will be up to you. When do you feel comfortable? When do you sort of have to, or when do you need to start taking the reins from your parents? I got it when I was 13 years old, and I was quite an immature 13-year-old. By 14, 15, I kind of clued in, but up till then, I also went to a private school where a nurse watched me, but other than that, I could do whatever I want with my diabetes. You have a choice. If you are a new diabetic, you have a choice. You can live and be a better diabetic and get better blood sugars and less complications for you. That's all that matters. It's for you. It's not for your parents. It's not for your teachers. It's for you. And getting your blood sugars to stay in range is what we're all here for. That's it. And I'll be back with, we'll let you know what the topic of tomorrow will be. My next vlog topic will be Tomorrow's topic will be when to screen. Or should we screen at all? But stay tuned and we'll be back tomorrow with another fun-filled, I don't know if it'll be fun-filled, but discussion on whether we should screen for T1D or not, and when should we. Have a great night, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye now. My email is mikesdiabetesworld@gmail.com. mikesdiabetesworld@gmail.com.